So, guys, welcome into the Monday morning overreaction and recap from Alabama's latest game against South Florida. I'm your host, Chris Marler from the Saturday Football Uncensored Podcast. And we're doing this Monday afternoon because I think a lot of Bama fans needed time to think, time to heal, and probably time to sober up from the hangover that they probably had, because this team has driven a lot of fans, including me, to drink, and it's only week 3. Let's get into it. It's a 17-3 win in Tampa. Right off the bat, maybe we don't schedule any more games in Tampa anymore. Hasn't gone well for Alabama the last 2 times they've been there. It was about as ugly as it can get. And the 17-3 win was only aided from a garbage time touchdown, but the offense looked terrible for most of the game. Tyler Buchner got the start, and hopefully it's his last. I'll say it in case no one else does. Between Tommy Rees's offense, the quarterback play, RG3 on the call, the rain delay, and the camera angle from space, Bama fans were in hell for about 3.5 hours on Saturday, or 4, including the rain delay, like I said. And it was awful. You bring out Tyler Buchner, who starts the game. He has his first 5 drives of the game. You only average 2.9 yards per play, no explosive plays, and you had 5 straight punts. You look at the first half, you go into halftime at 3-3. And listen, Tyler Buchner and that experiment is over. I don't think he sees the field for the rest of the year in any sort of meaningful snaps, so we don't need to dwell on that. Ty Simpson comes in afterwards, and he played fairly well. But the problem with the offense is you had 12 total drives, and only 2 of those drives ended with more than 25 total yards gained. You had 310 total yards on the day. About a third of that, a little over a third, was on 3 total plays. They were the only 3 explosive plays you had over 20 yards all afternoon. It looks bad from the get-go. This isn't anything negative about South Florida, okay? They played a great football game. They got a new head coach. I'm sure they got a lot of athletes down there because of South Florida and all that good stuff. But Alabama, with all the shit we heard in the offseason of how we're going to play bully ball and joyless murder ball, and we're going to sit here and just use our huge physicality on offensive line to push people around, we haven't seen that yet. And we're a quarter of the way through the season. And you should, if you're Alabama, be able to line up and just run the football for 60 straight minutes and beat South Florida. And you weren't able to do that for the 3rd straight game. And you weren't able to do it against the South Florida team, who was 1-11 last year and had the 113th ranked defense in the country headed into this game. You had 107 total passing yards in the game. It was the lowest amount for an Alabama team in their last 87 total games, dating back all the way to the Washington College Football Playoff game at the end of 2016. It was awful. It was absolutely awful. You gave up 5 sacks. And you look at this offense through the 3rd game of the season under Tommy Rees. Tommy Rees is the guy that you brought in and you heard Nick Saban rave about, and you thought he was going to switch it up. And you're going into a game against Ole Miss where you're playing against one of your old coordinators. And I heard Bama fans all offseason, all last year, bitch and moan about how bad Bill O'Brien was and how bad Pete Golding was. Well, the truth is you had 2 coordinators that had a top 10 scoring offense and a top 10 scoring defense, and you weren't happy with it. And now you want to look at the numbers here. And this is what you have the SEC ranks right now for Alabama's offense. Scoring offense, 9th. Passing offense, 13th. Total offense, 13th. First downs made, 12th. Sacks allowed, 13th. It's inexcusable. And the problem you're really going to see, too, is the fact that you're not doing the little things that elite teams do. This season is far from over. It is far from over. And Jalen Milroe getting the nod from Nick Saban today as the starting quarterback going to Ole Miss, I think will do a lot of things that are positive for that locker room and hopefully for this team. But as of right now, this is not a championship team. This is not even probably the 3rd best team in the West, if we're being honest with ourselves. There's a lot of improvement they could still make, but you had 2 touchdowns called back yet again. You gave up a lot of big 3rd downs on a quarterback that was pretty slippery, and now you got to go into SEC play, and you got to shore all those things up. It's the 4th touchdown that's been called back from penalties in the last 2 games combined. That kind of stuff doesn't help when you already have an issue at quarterback. Now, the last thing I'll say before moving into this game is a message to the team. I'm sure they're watching. They always do, right? I've heard all offseason how angry this team is. I heard after the Texas game, they had a players-only meeting after the South Florida debacle. We get it. I don't know how much angrier you have to get to start playing well, because I think everyone watching is angry too. But this doesn't look like an anger that's resulting in on-field results. It looks like a much more of a passive-aggressive, I'm going to shut down emotionally, go to my room, and put on Blink-182 way too loud because I'm pissed off my stepdad type of anger. We'll see what they do against Ole Miss. Saban has announced that Jalen Milroe is going to be the starter. Make sure you tune into the Saturday Football Uncensored Podcast because we have 2 free tickets we'll be giving away this week. Tune in there for details. Until then, roll tide, drink up, and God bless.